But
So, welcome to Pandora's Box. Arlin, do you know the premise of Pandora's Box?
no, tell me.
All right, basically, it's I get really interesting guests on the best of the best. That's why I got you here. And there's no kind of pre-scripting. We just open it up and see what fucking happens. It's like
Okay,
going to a
beautiful.
DJ set and you don't know what's going to happen. So, why don't we start with? Can you just introduce yourself at the start? Because I've thought about how to introduce yourself and I was a bit conflicted. I thought, do I introduce Arlen as an entrepreneur? Do I introduce him as an artist? Do I introduce him as like a fucking religious leader in a way with 8 a.m.? I don't actually know how you define yourself. My conclusion was artist, but I'd love your take and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I'm a religious leader and political figure. Yeah, I might as well be, I guess. I never thought of it that way, but it could be argued. You know, it's funny. I was at a party, a Halloween party, a couple nights
Yeah.
ago here in LA, and there was a sign when you're walking into the party. It says, "If you work a normal job, go in this line. If your job takes 10 minutes to explain, go in this line." I was like, yeah, I'm in that one. um, yeah, I always struggle with these podcasts too. I'm like, I don't know. That's why I just ultimately say artist, and it's the easiest thing.
Arlen the artist. Well, it's quite cool because I've actually seen you for a while, and it's cool to like see your evolution, of like different phases. It's like the it's like the evolution of an entrepreneur, but you're actually going up. I think a lot of people get stuck, and I think that's what's cool with ATM, which is it's about growing people and helping people evolve or get to the next stage, let's say. I don't really know a better way to put it. And I've also been thinking, because I really like techno and house music too, and I love your take on this, but I actually think that there's something very religious and very spiritual almost about going to like, when you're in a, like, you go to a tech house event or something like that, and
Yeah, I was
I
at
don't
one
drink, I
two
haven't
nights
drank in
ago.
5
Yeah,
years, but you just get into the state of flow.
dude, totally. Yes. Yeah, bro. I mean, I don't go to a ton of like ragers and stuff. I actually wish I think I should be it more. That's actually one of the reasons I want to be in LA a lot more because there are parties all the time. But yeah, I was at one the other night and dude, it was such a cool party, bro. You would have loved it. It was a very cool. There's some very good like party throwing people in LA, as you can imagine, and they just know how to do it. Like this was one of the best parties I've ever been to in my life, just top to bottom, the whole thing.
That's cool.
And you walk in like first of all, I was in Beverly Hills in this mansion in like deep in the hills where you're looking around. It's just all different hills. You don't even see like the city at all. You're just in the midst of it. And
Hmm.
it's like, first of all, you pull up to the address, and the address wasn't where the party was. The address was just where you picked up the tickets
No,
as to
no.
deter people from like showing up at the house expecting, you know.
Hmm.
So you go there, you pick up your wristband. Then they had shuttle buses. You get in the shuttle bus. The shuttle bus brings you this. It was like 15-minute drive from the shuttle,
Fucking hell.
and you go up this hill, up this winding hill, and you end up at this estate, just like Beverly, like old money style Beverly Hills estate.
Hmm.
Pulling up, it's LA. Everyone's crazy decked out in costumes, and outside of the house, you couldn't hear a peep. I actually thought I was like, wait, is this party dead? I was like, is there anybody even here? You go around back, people are chatting. You go into the house, then you could start to hear the music. And it's, you go around back, like massive expanse of a backyard with like a Great Gatsby looking pool and garden and everything. You go in the house, and when there's this one curtain, you open the curtain, dude, and it was like the sound from the house techno, like
Just
slightly
hits.
like ominous Halloween sort of vibes like intertwined. Open the curtain, dance floor is packed, bro.
Hmm.
It looked like a movie, and then like you're immediately like, oh my god. And there was two
What's your take?
levels. There was like the balcony level, and then there was the main kind of living room dance floor, DJ, and yeah, dude, like you go on a dance floor like that, and like it is an experience. You don't I don't know why people even take drugs. I don't understand it.
Hmm.
The whole energy consumes you. Um,
Why do you think people take drugs?
because they are very distanced from God. Yeah. They don't realize that they have this access to this. It's like a funny little trick that I think God plays on us. You
Hmm.
know, where you have this unlimited source of abundance and joy in your soul.
Hmm.
Um, but people don't realize it's there, and so yeah, and they don't. I mean, it's there. Like the joy that's in your soul is just resting, like in your soul, and you just got to go within your body. But the thing is, as soon as people get quiet and they don't have a phone in front of them to distract them, they realize that they are holding and harboring all these emotions, whether it's like pain or they haven't forgiven somebody, they're holding resentment, or they're holding like trauma from maybe they had something really terrible happen to them, maybe they lost a friend or a loved one, and they don't want to visit that feeling inside of them, so they just skip it and they distract themselves.
Hmm.
But until they process those emotions, they can't access the joy that's sitting inside. So instead of processing emotions, they go, okay, well, this pill is going to make me feel good right now. Okay, let me take that. So it's like a quick route, but it's always at a cost. Those emotions don't go anywhere that you're harboring. Dude, it was actually really scary at the party. It was an amazing party, but then it was like 3:30 in the morning. We
Hmm.
come outside and there's some guy on the ground that's surrounded by a bunch of medics. And I talked to one of the medics. I was like, "What's happening?" And she's like, "Yeah, he was out, like he was gone, and we had to use Narcan to bring him back." And his friends were
What?
surrounding him, like holding him. He was fine, like he was stabilized, but he literally died. And he took,
Jesus Christ, that's fucking crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Fucking
So
hell.
that, dude, I'd never fuck with drugs ever. It's just that
My
risk, dude.
view
It's
is, sorry,
Go
my view
ahead.
is like what it gives to you. It's like you're in an elevator. This is the like how I like to view it. And you go into the elevator, and your normal happiness levels are like 1 to 10. And when you take this pill, it allows you to go to like 11 or 12 or 13. But firstly, people don't realize that you can get to 11, 12, 13 yourself. One. Two, if you take this pill and you zap up, because you've gone up so quickly and you haven't earned the right to go up, you then just crash down and you go to -1, -2. So I think whatever it gives you, and like you maybe go to 11, you go -2. Like it takes away more than it gives. It just gives on like a surface level. So it's like very intriguing. It's like marketing for Coca-Cola, right? It's like on the front of it, or like McDonald's, like on the front, like yeah, happy McDonald's, whatever. But then on the back end, you feel like fucking crap,
Yeah,
and it takes
yeah,
away way more.
yeah, man. It's a shortcut, and it's a shortcut to short-term happiness. But on the back end of it, it's like the long tail of misery. It's
Hmm.
just horrible.
What got you into this?
Into what?
Like, I know you meditate daily and like
Hmm.
prayer, I think fairly often. Like, was there a certain catalyst that kind of pushed you this way? Or were you
Yeah.
always like this? Was it?
Ironically, ironically, it was, well, there's like a backdrop of, my parents being, there's videos of me 1 years old on the beach, and my mom is literally in lotus posture meditating.
No
And so
way.
my mom's always been like a yogi, and my dad, actually, my dad was, and he would admit this, was relatively unconscious, like significantly unconscious growing up. And so there was like a lot of fighting and stuff in my household. And my dad's diagnosed with some, not anymore, but he was diagnosed with like bipolar disorder. But he's totally like, because he got into meditation and all of that, and kind of
Hmm.
totally, he's like super chill now.
Hmm.
But so my parents kind of had that. Mom's Jewish, dad's Catholic, so I was generally confused growing up. I was like, well, what is, like, why are these different religions, like, I'm both? Like, I don't get it, but they're exclusive. It doesn't make any sense. So I was just confused, and then yeah, a big catalyst for like getting seriously interested was actually smoking weed in high school when I was 15. That
Hmm.
leading to what I thought initially was like a depression and like a psychosis almost. Like I became instantly aware of my existence,
Hmm.
which up until, most people, some people happens earlier. I remember speaking to Iman about this one time. He said he realized his own existence and his own consciousness at like 7 years old, which makes a lot of sense because he's so mature. But like
Hmm.
I didn't really realize my own existence until I was 15.
Hmm.
And that's when you're like, okay, we're on a spinning rock. There's another spinning rock in the sky and a ball of fire in the sky. Like I have a feeling of like aliveness in my body, but I'm like terrified. I don't know what's happening. Everyone else seems to be like NPC robots.
It's true.
I'm like, what is this? And you're in high school. You're going to this like borderline prison every day. You have to do what you're told. I'm just like, and it made
And
me super anxious, right? So then when I was 18, I finally um, started exploring and reading books and found solace in reading books and found answers. So, yeah, I think it was just the initial confusion and struggle. And then, it doesn't stop. Like, you're even still on this podcast, it's like, dude, like, what is happening here?
Hmm.
I'm just always looking for the truth.
Hmm. Do you mind me asking? This might be a bit deep, but fuck it. Um, I don't think I've ever said this on like a podcast or anything, but I I can relate to what you said a lot because I'm half Indian, half Italian. So my mum's Catholic, my dad's Sikh, and my dad is like a very volatile character. He's got like diabetes, but he doesn't like. I can't. How do I say this? Uh, it's hard to kind of get through to him sometimes in terms of like the unconsciousness, even though I see it. Can I ask, with your dad, were you able to kind of like push him towards like meditation or yoga in some way? If so,
Yeah.
how?
Yeah. I remember very clearly around the time I was really trying to kind of bring him into it. I was about 20. No, I
Hmm.
was probably 19. And I had read, I'm sure you've read The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle.
Hmm. A million
And I was
times.
reading that book like over and over and over, just on Audible. I'd walk to college, walk to class, and I just had it on repeat. I probably read it 50 times. And just Eckhart like bringing me into this meditative state. And I remember, going home on vacations or in the summer and seeing my dad. And because I started to develop that like light in me, that like light of consciousness that every spiritual master talks about from Christ to Eckhart, and developing this light. And I just like really what it is. And I started to realize this, and I learned this through Owen as well, is you can just look at someone who's unconscious. And I just grab my dad and just look at him and dad, and like that like transmission, it's like a transmission of like you look into their pupils and
Hmm.
you can see, like you look into someone who's unconscious, you can see in their pupils they're like not really there. But if they make eye contact with you and you're conscious, it's you can transmit the consciousness and awaken theirs. It's very deep. It's like they're
No,
seeing, because you
I see
have
it.
God, you're
Yeah.
channeling God through you.
Hmm.
And if you make eye contact with them, they are seeing God through
Hmm.
you. And I think that awakens them too. And so that was the initial thing. And then I was like, I got him The Power of Now. I'm like, read this every day, read this every day. And that like ultimately is what did it. The Power of Now and just that
That's really cool.
transmission.
I guess I'm gonna have to shake my dad when I come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's really interesting. I actually, because with the look in the eyes, it's a hard thing to explain to someone that doesn't kind of get it.
Yeah.
And you sound like a bit of a crazy person. I'm not sure if you can relate to this, but I really see sometimes I look in people's eyes and you can kind of see pain, or you see like just like glazed over. I saw it with
Mm-hmm.
my grandma because she got dementia, and at
Uh-huh.
the end it was like there was no one there, but the vessel. It was weird. It was like I'm
Yeah.
looking. I remember like, and I'm like, you smell like my grandma. Physically, your body is here. You look like my grandma, but I look into your eyes and it's just like glazed over, like you're awake. I'll say your name, you'll reply, but it's not you. And for me, that was
Yeah.
an interesting experience as well because that's when I realized that the soul and what's within is not necessarily attached to the vessel. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like a temporary
Well,
thing.
I think in that case, I would imagine she's still there. She's just there. they're there. If they're animated and they're moving around, like they're just covered up by a bunch of other stuff,
That's fair.
you know.
That's fair.
And they don't want to turn around and look what's inside.
No, I
But
think that's interesting.
yeah, it's like the greatest thing, that I think I mentioned this maybe once a podcast, but like the whole story of the beggar sitting on the gold coins, and he doesn't know that he's sitting on a box. He's begging his whole
I can't
life.
tell story.
Yeah. And then the man walks by him and is like, "Did you ever look inside the box?" And he's like, "There's nothing in there." And he's like, "Well, you could open it." And he's like, "All right." It's just all gold.
Yeah. This is why I think this sounds weird, but I'd argue that artists in a way are kind of modern day prophets because I think
Hmm.
really good artists can actually pump. You're pumping people's state, but you're doing it on like a mass arena. How does it feel for you as an artist, like when you're playing your sets and seeing like I went to one of your parties in Bali, it was fucking sick, and like seeing the smiles on people's faces because people go into the party just like they're like neutral. Some are excited, right? But a lot of people just neutral, like oh I hope this is fun. But how does it feel for you to actually be the one transmitting that and bringing those people up?
Yeah, I mean, music specifically is definitely a it's yeah, it's a spiritual, it's a prophetic, like spiritual, powerful, healing thing. At least the way that I plan my sets, it's always like a consciousness lifting thing. Um, Whether it like really affects people or not, I don't know. I can't be like I can't be 100%
Yeah,
certain, but
sure.
I'm pretty sure, you know. So like the way that I plan them is um, my sets are normally like I start off with like music that reached me at a certain level of consciousness that was I would say is like a bit lower than where I've gotten to now. But like I still like the music, and it's also the music is it's like you can still enjoy like dude I still enjoy like trap like Hollywood Hills hip hop like I love that shit, and it's about like fucking
Killing
bitches
people
and
and
like
drugs and
murdering
yeah,
people.
yeah.
But
I'm the
like
same.
I still listen, I liked it. I actually genuinely liked it when I was in like a lower consciousness state, but even now like the other night like we're listening to it, I'm like yeah, let's go. um but like so I'll start it off sort of lower and then just transcend the sort of energy scale, and then I'll typically go like the 8 a.m. album you know is full on like you're seeking and finding God, and you're going through this entire like the whole album. If you even read the titles, it's like an instruction manual. So it's the words of the songs are an instruction manual, but if you listen to the whole album front to back, it's intended to make like a spiritual release. And like if you listen to the vibrations in the songs, like it will like awaken something by the end. And by the end it's just like it's cool. Like I look at the streams too, and it's kind of cool to see. It's almost like a YouTube video or a podcast where people like, the curve starts off like this and then gradually people drop off. But I can see how many people started and got it all the way to the end. And that's like my metric of like awakened souls. um, and yeah, I mean, the music is totally an awakening mechanism on like a very ethereal scale. But that's because it's like direct vibration.
I mean, on that note, you released Sage of Old
Yeah.
yesterday.
Sages
Yeah,
of old, yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Sages of Old, and I was reading through your newsletter for it in preparation for this, and I thought it was really interesting because you kind of touched. I'm also friends with Mike, and you touched on kind of the fun, dark spirits,
Mm.
kind of for listeners. Fucking subscribe to Arlin stuff, but you touched on these fun, dark spirits that kind of they can help you ascend. What for you? What does kind of playing with darkness look like? day to day? How'd you do that? Because
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Dude, I really kind of struggled with this song a lot until recently. I
Hmm.
started it
How come?
probably 3 months ago, and it's the only song I was working on for like 3 months straight. And part of the reason I had a hard time with it was because of the dark energy of it, you know?
Hmm.
Like I was kind of scared of the song. I was like, dude,
Like,
like,
in what way? Like,
bro, I
how
mean, it just feels like if you listen to the voice, it's like
it is like.
it's like the witchy voice, like we are here entering. But like at the same time, the message of the song, like if you read the lyrics, it's like this poem about like breaking free, you
Hmm.
know. So on one hand, I was like, and when I was making the song, I kind of made this like hypnotic trance, like like
Hmm.
ascension, but it's in a minor key, which minor keys, a lot of house music, it's in a minor key. It sounds darker, you know. So it's kind of, you're playing in like a dark space. But
Hmm.
I've always known, dude, like ever since I started making YouTube videos like 9 years ago, I was at college, going to college parties, filming drunk college party, which is like a dark thing, you know. But then I knew, like, in order to transform people, you have to reach them where they're at. You can't just preach the gospel at a college party. You
Yeah,
have
it's
to
true.
be a frat guy, gain the respect, gain the attention, and then be like, yo, by the way, you should read Eckhart Tolle,
Yeah.
you know? So it's the
No, it's
same, I view the same thing with the music. It's like you have to kind of go into the darker, like you start in a minor key, and then you kind of raise, and then eventually you can take to a major. A major key is just brighter, happier, more joyful. Anyway, I'm making this song. I make this like hypnotic trance, like dun 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 dun, and then all of a sudden I'm like sitting on my back porch, and I just like start writing, and like I hear this voice in my head. It's like this witchy like thing, and then I go and make it, and I'm like, wow, this is like kind of sick, but it's also kind of creepy. Like, what is this? Like, I don't know what forces I'm dealing with here. Um, and yeah, I sat on it for a while and just kind of kept hitting on it, trying to get the right feel. Ultimately, I realized that, and this is what Mike, Mike Murray. If you guys look up, Michael Murray or what's his Instagram? The Mike Wisdom,
yeah.
Mike of Wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And his primal law idea, he talks about, and it never clicked with me. Like people who are the most powerful understand light and dark, and they understand dark isn't bad. You know, it can be used for bad, it can be used for evil, but darkness itself isn't inherently bad. And that's kind of when I had the breakthrough and what allowed me to release the song.
Hmm.
And your question was, how do I look at playing with it? Yeah, it's like I look at it as if you can enter the darkness from like a playful spiritual energy with those like darker spirits that are playful and protective and spiritual, it kind of serves as like a disguise, you know.
Hmm.
And Jesus himself like went into the Canaanites and like the pagan ceremonies and temples. Like he went into like basically Satan worshippers,
Hmm.
and then they basically fit in, and then he could like
Yeah.
ascend people
It's
from that.
extracting.
Yeah. So that's how I look at it. It's I'm glad you're asking about this because I don't really have a other place to talk about it. It kind of just is like happening, you know.
Hmm.
So
I
it's a
genuinely find it
spiritual
cool.
war.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. I think you also touched on fear
Hmm.
within that newsletter, and honestly, I read it today, and it was a fucking brain fuck to me because I'm reading. I just started the Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon
Yeah.
Hill. And I mean, I'm like halfway through, but even like the whole story of that is fucking crazy to me, though. It wasn't released for 70 years. And all of that, like the big premise is that what the devil's trying to do is inject fear into most people. And with that understanding in the back of my mind, I'm sure you see the same, like feel the same. So many people are fear-based, and yet to actually, I mean, even my stuff with like the raw doggers angle, right? This community that I'm building, it's kind of like playful, silly marketing that I have to put on the front end, so I get people in that then I can give like a deeper transformation. Because if you actually at the front are like, oh, like, yeah, it's going to be a spiritual awakening and it's going to be so much work and you're going to have to fucking sit down and meditate and you're going to have to visualize things and you're going to have to read Eckhart Tolle and, you know, whatever, right? Like, sit down, read the Bible, do all of these things. It's, no one's going to fucking do it. They're going to be like, fuck that. So you have to kind of catfish people into it. That's how I view it. Of like, you have to hook people in with a good hook, just like at the start of your music, right? Like a darker, energetic hook. And then you can like, once you've hooked them in, you can kind of evolve them and bring them
Hmm.
up a few notches. That's at least my takeaway, which I thought was fucking interesting.
Yeah, you're going to reach people where they're at. It's not to say that like people who are preaching like the end of the road, right? Which is like, come here and spiritually awaken. Because like there are people who are at that level who are like, yeah, I want to like awaken more.
Yeah, that's true.
But if your mission is to awaken people who are unawakened, yeah, you can't like it. It's kind of like someone who's addicted to heroin or something. You know, you maybe the next best thing isn't to prescribe them like to read Eckhart Tolle. Like maybe it's like give them some cigarettes,
Yeah.
and the cigarettes get them out of it's like a lead magnet. you know
Yeah.
you get the cigarettes, and then it's like, oh well, to get the cigarettes you have to read this book, or I don't know
Yeah.
what it would be for the drug.
What would you define your mission as? Maybe that's a hard question.
I think it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just to align myself to God's will, and then to bring other people closer to God, which is like that makes sense to me. For other people, that I have to kind of unpack that about what I mean by God, and what that people are going to have various reactions to that. But that's at
Well,
least how
that
I
was
say it.
actually no. I'm glad you said that because that was actually my next question off the back of that. When you say God, what does that mean for you? Because for different people, different religions, different listeners listening to this, God is a very loaded word.
Hmm.
So what does it mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to look at, when I first started asking these questions when I was 18, I was immediately an atheist, because I was using logic and reason to I was leaning on that evidence. You cannot show me proof and evidence of God, at least as how you describe God. You
Mm.
cannot prove to me that your religion is the right one, unless we're going off what these people said in a book from 2,000 years ago, or 1,500 years ago, or 5,000 years ago. So how are you that stupid to believe in this? And I'd memorized all of the famous new atheist arguments. Then I read Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle points you, and the Eckhart Tolle kind of lands in sort of, I think people would call it like New Age spirituality,
Yeah.
which I actually don't even think he is. I think he's more just a modern day mystic. And mystics have been around for thousands of years. I think New Age spirituality is like tarot cards and like numerology and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I think you go listen to Eckhart, you talk to Eckhart, he's going to awaken some stuff in you that is just true. So I read Eckhart, and then throughout the years, I just got really fascinated with pretty much every religion, just in the name of like, what is the truth? And dude, hold on, my leg literally fell
Right.
asleep because I was sitting in lotus that whole time. Give me a second. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and
All right.
I'm gonna shake my leg out too.
All
Oh
right. All
my
right.
god.
I'm gonna take a piss too. I'll come back. Do we
Okay.
have like 20 minutes? How long do you have?
I have plenty of time. I have all day if you want.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're not in a rush. Yeah. I was kind of worried you were like in a massive rush. Sounds
Oh,
like
no, no,
you're
no. No, we're good. We're good.
having a
Um,
great. Mm.
yeah,
I,
so,
yeah, I asked about what God meant for you.
yeah. Yeah, so, um, yeah, I went down the mainstream religious rabbit hole and started reading all the books, and more importantly, I think talking to religious people, Jews, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, and asking them like, why do you believe your religion is true? And coming
Mm.
at it from like a very heart open place, because that's
Mm.
important. I think a lot of people do that. There's documentaries of like, atheists going around like asking religious people why they think their religion's true. But again, they're just stuck in the consciousness of logic and reason.
Mm.
And I have a lot of respect for Jordan Peterson. I have a lot of respect for guys like Bill Maher, but I think they're too in their head. They're not religion. If you ask most Christians who are like really connected to Jesus, it's like it's a heart connection.
Mm.
And yeah, ultimately, I read the autobiography of a yogi, which I've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
And I generally believe with like I'm pretty in alignment with his worldview,
Mm-hmm.
which is that what is God? Um, God is, dude. It's just when you have the context that I have, you just know that it's true, like top to bottom, and it's not that hard to refute. And yeah, like God is it all aligns. Like every single major religious tradition, it's clear to me, it all aligns that you have God, which is the unmanifest essence of the universe that from which everything is created. So God is both the unmanifest and the manifest. It's the all, it's everything. But at the same time, God can send prophets and messengers who are awakened to God and who allow God to speak through them. And some people there's kind of different levels of that type of being. Because God is everything, he's in you, he's in me. But there's obviously some beings and Bhagavan Krishna and Yogananda, Eckhart Tolle, Muhammad. There's people who are very obviously prophets who had a specific message to convey to the world at the time of their time on earth.
Mm.
And if you look into Jesus, Jesus is obviously a pretty important figure here because he's the most documented person of all time and most mentioned person of all time, and our calendar is based off Jesus. You look into Jesus, and everything else points to Jesus too. Like he, in my perspective, Jesus is. They call him the King of Kings. Like he's like the highest level God transmission in human form that there was. But that's not to say that underneath there weren't other God aligned, God sent people. It doesn't even make like God was in Jesus, but Jesus himself isn't the totality of God. Like he's not God the Father. God the Father used him, spoke through him. But so people get very confused about all these things. They get confused about Hinduism. They think Hinduism is a monotheistic religion. Or sorry, they think Hinduism is a polytheistic religion. But in reality, it's the same thing as Christianity. Christianity divides God into Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Hinduism divides God into different aspects of like every sub god in Hinduism is like a
Slither of
certain
that.
expression, you
Mm.
know. So Shiva represents, I believe, destruction, right? And Krishna represents whatever total consciousness bliss. And Yogananda represents a certain aspect, and we all represent a certain aspect because God is not limited to one expression; He's everything. So that's how I would describe
Mm.
God.
Can I share my perspective?
Yeah, of course.
Because I like I battled on like w- this. You might relate to this, but my personal view is that ultimately, and it's a really I've thought of a really shitty analogy for it, but I think it actually makes it makes sense to like a normal person, let's say, which is I view like different religions. Like just take this for what it is, but I can view different religions as kind of different fitness exercises or fitness practices with the ultimate goal of getting you to like to be or feel connected with God. I'd argue being connected with God is that state of oneness, is that state of complete presence, of that state of surrender. I say that because when I ask like my different religious friends, for example, Muslim friends, when they put their heads to the floor of the masjid, all they say is like they just feel an intense connection or like intense presence and intense oneness. It's the exact same. Like when I walked into the Vatican City, and I went during COVID, so I was really lucky because it was like absolutely empty. And I remember, have you watched Lord of the Rings? It
Yeah.
literally felt like something stripped out of Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you've been to the Vatican City, but
No, I
bro,
haven't.
like, bro, if you ever can, like, go. It blew my fucking mind. I walked in, and it was like the biggest cathedral that, like, it was so grand. It was so grandiose and just so like crazy on scale that I couldn't like my brain couldn't even comprehend it. And because I went in COVID and it was empty, it was even like crazier to me. And like the sub, you know, if you go into a normal church, like you have the little sub wings. The sub wings of the Vatican City are bigger than any other cathedral that you ever will have visited. Like it's just fucking blew my mind.
Mm.
And seeing things like that and being experienced like or being exposed to things like that, or even myself like being Sikh, going to the Golden Temple. So if you don't know, it's like the Sikhs' holy place of worship is literally like in this lake, just solid gold fucking temple in the middle. And you see it and you're just like, what the fuck? Like this can't, like surely God has to exist. So it's a very hard thing to explain to people. But ultimately, my view with different religions is there's just the exact same as different exercises and forms of exercise that bring you to that ultimate state. And you just need to figure out which one's best for you.
Yeah, I'm looking at images of that Sikh temple.
Yeah,
They're
type in
really
Golden
cool.
Temple. Bro, it's
Yeah,
really
seeing
cool. If
it.
you ever get to go, it's really cool.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it looks like the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, it's crazy. If honestly, if you can go to I don't know if you'd be interested, but yeah, just these like big temples are fucking cool. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
they're all, yeah, they're, everything is like this. When you see these temples, it's hard to not, like even just old architecture in the United States, like it's hard to imagine that they didn't obviously intend to build these things a certain way. I mean, I think that the the simplest explanation is like they're just trying to create beauty and honor God with like a design. But at the
Hmm.
same time, they're made of certain materials. Like it kind of seems like they're just trying to transmute some energy and, you know, channel some like divine forces with the way that these things are architected. Like why is the whole thing gold? There's got to be a reason other than, just for it to look shiny because they could have painted it, But I guess it's an honoring to the gods, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't go too far down that rabbit hole. We can
No,
we
no,
can
that's fair.
shift topics.
All right. Can I ask you this though before we switch? If 8 a.m. was a religion, what would your core message of it be?
The core message would be every morning when you wake up, sit in the temple of silence, which is your body, for at least 30 minutes, and pay attention to the sensations in your body. The whole day, we're even right now, my eyes are open and my energy, my voice, all my energy is going outward
Hmm.
into this physical world. But before I was here, I was meditating, prayer meditation every day, as you mentioned. And yeah, I just close my eyes and I reverse the energy. So instead of looking outward and directing outward, like all my energy is going the other way.
Hmm.
And yeah, when you do that, I think you just kind of find the answers. So like you don't really need to do anything else other than that. You end up resolving trauma, resolving resentment, um, ju- you have to do it from a place of surrender, which is to say, like, you're going to experience past emotions, thoughts are going to come up, things that make you uncomfortable, just let them kind of pass over you. And if you just do that every single day, you're going to be a better person. You're going to make better, clearer decisions. You're going to get amazing ideas to pursue. And you're probably going to tap into some like wisdom that you didn't even know that you knew. So that would be the main message. I mean, I could say, commandments of like ways you should behave and act, but that's like the equalizer. Like that kind of just makes all the good stuff happen automatically.
No, I think it's a cool approach. What I wanted to ask you about this because from the out, obviously I don't. No one ever knows the details, but congrats on 3 years, you and Chloe, and
Yeah.
that's really cool because there's a lot of like degeneracy promoted, especially with certain different creators, and then seeing you two as like an actual like really nice couple, if I'm allowed to say, going through like all these different temptations. Like you're in fucking like crazy LA Hollywood parties. You used to I don't used to run trips around the world with all these models
Hmm.
and shit, and like it's a bit crazy. It's not like your normal couple, and it's not like your normal like couple, especially that's one just out of like I'm assuming you didn't. How do I phrase this? You clearly have both chosen each other out of abundance. It's not
Mm.
out of like scarcity, which is most people. How do you like balance this relationship whilst still dedicating all this time to your work, to your profession, to God, to everything? What's
Yeah.
been like? Do you have any like secret sauce?
The secret to balancing it with work and such, or because you
No,
started
I don't,
off asking
maybe
about
that
like
asked a bit of a shit question. I guess like, what do you feel makes your relationship so special?
um
Like,
I mean, honestly, it's corny. The answer is really corny, but it's love. It's super super corny answer, but uh, I know that you know, like I was raised very very loved, and as I mentioned, my parents obviously didn't weren't perfect growing up, but they did love me a lot, and I was very fortunate for that. And when I met Chloe, and I wasn't. It's not like I was always this person of like amazing self love. Like I went through my phases where I don't think I loved myself great. Uh, but eventually, we have our awakenings. We start learning to really love ourselves. And I think that the amount of love that I experienced growing up, and the amount of love that ultimately I started to give to myself, when I was looking for a really truly like dedicated and committed person to share my life with, the number one thing I was looking for was somebody who would be able to love me to the depth that I knew I'd be able to love them back. Um, I mean, it started with the intention setting. I went to a couple weddings in 2021. Two of my friends got married. I saw them get married. And before that, I never really wanted. I mean, I knew I wanted to get married eventually, but I didn't have like the pull to like settle down forever because I wanted to be like I wanted to experience and hook up with a lot of girls, you know. Um, but then I was like, I think it's. I saw my friends get married, and I set the intention. I was like, God, please bring me, my life partner. And I knew that in making that covenant and that intention, that it would actually happen, which is scary, which is why it's a scary thing to do. But then when I met Chloe, like the early identifiers where I saw she was very close to her family, I could immediately say how much her parents loved her. And then I saw the way she had this dog called Rascal. And if she sees this clip, she's just going to burst out crying because Rascal was her dog from when she was probably I don't know, 5 years old or something. And dude, this was a little like, I don't know anything about dogs. Cocker Spaniel?
Well, I don't know
Spaniel.
what dog that is, but
Yeah, I don't,
that's
no.
fine.
Oh, yeah, yeah, Cocker Spaniel. Yeah.
Okay.
Super, super cute puppy. And when I met Rascal, he was like 14 years old, 15
Hmm.
years old, which is very old for a dog.
Yes.
And, but she had him for 15 years, of course, since she was a kid. And dude, I saw the way she loved this dog. And it was just like, I don't know. She just like totally accepted the dog, totally loved the dog. She treated the dog like a human. And I remember very, very early on, it was like one of the first times I went to like one of her family Shabbats, and she was feeding the dog some like human food.
Hmm.
And I saw like, her cousin was like, Chloe, why are you feeding Rascal like human food? Feed him dog food. And Chloe goes, because he's a human. And dude, yeah, like the way that she loved this dog, I was like, she can love a dog like that. Imagine how she could love me. And yeah, I've just experienced like through all of my different evolutions, just pure, like she has the capacity of like pure unconditional love. And I think that's what I admire to give to her, aspire to give to her. And I think that's why the relationship has been able to be strong.
I think it's really cool and like genuinely admirable. Um, I, I'm since Bali, I actually met kind of my partner, and
Mm.
it's been going incredibly well. And I think similarly to just like someone who's genuinely really good and really fucking cares about you. Like for me,
Hmm.
I hosted a mastermind in London. But before I could even tell her about, like, as soon as I told her, she booked flights. She came for one day and then flew back. She lives in Amsterdam. Like
Yeah.
she
Came
instantly
to
just
support.
booked flights and was like, "I'm coming just for the day."
Yeah.
Like shit like that. Like it's honestly, it's often like okay, there's a
Without
big
even thinking about it. It's like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna be there for you. Yeah.
yeah. It's like these devils in the detail for me is like a real big thing. Or like tomorrow's my first community session thing with my own community. And she was like, baby, I need the details. Like, I need to be there to support you. And she's in the middle
Yeah.
of her exam period. She's still studying. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, like, you study. She's like, no, no, no. Like, I need to be there to support you. And it's like little things like that that I find, at least for me, to be so sweet.
Hmm.
But also having been, or also as someone that's dated around a lot, I feel like those qualities are rare, but I don't know why they maybe this is like a fucked up lens, but it just feels so much rarer to find those qualities today versus like 40 years ago if I see my grandparents or speak to my parents. What's your view on that? Would you agree, disagree? Why do you think that's been?
Why are the qualities rare?
Yeah, why is that rare? And
Yeah.
I personally view like finding someone genuine today just seems a lot rarer than it used to be. But maybe
Yeah.
that's a reality.
No, I think, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I do believe that like, men are leaders. Men lead the culture, and I think men are generally to blame for the reason that women are seemingly harder, good women are seemingly harder to find. I blame it on men for sure, you know.
Mm.
Uh, I think I was actually thinking about this like this morning randomly. My brain goes in a lot of different areas, but yeah, I was thinking because like I watched a lot of red pill content, and it helped me to like learn game and learn how to meet a lot of different girls and stuff. But I don't even think it was necessary or even good. Like I look at I look at I mean it obviously was necessary for like my spiritual development and growth. And I think the reason that I was even attracted to game in the first place goes to like a much earlier deep-seated problem of like when I was 12 years old, I was watching American Pie movies. The culture of like you go to college, you bang as many girls as you can,
Mm.
and like that was like what I was watching when I was 12.
Mm.
So like that, and that just creates this desire in young men of like you got to be this like player, and you got to, and then of course red pill accentuated it, have multiple girlfriends, have Don't settle down until you're 35 years old. These things didn't exist. Like these cultural, very extremely liberal ideas, sexually liberal ideas didn't exist, you know, until I think probably like the 70s was like the hippie movement, you know.
Yeah.
But back when our grandparents are around, it was just very traditional. It was traditional Christian values, mainly, at least in the U.S. I think probably the world as a whole was a lot more traditional conservative, which obviously has limitations. You know, conservatism has limitations.
Yeah,
And
it's good and bad.
what's that?
I said it's good and bad, like everything.
Yeah, everything is good and bad. Yeah, but yeah, I think that the pendulum swung in the other direction of like extreme liberalism and extreme sexual liberation, and just wasn't good. And I think that's all. It was a giant societal thing that kind of messed up a lot of the foundational principles of what would make someone even want to have a committed relationship. Like people are, I think both men and women are so confused. You
I
know,
think so.
like, did even like right now, you know, Chloe and I, we do a lot of stuff, but like fun stuff. And I love that we have that kind of relationship where we can go out and hang and, you know, still be cool, you know, cool couple. Go to parties till 4 a.m. together, you know. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I've been doing it a while, and ultimately, I think you just come to realize, like, you know, it's not that cool. Like, it's fun, it's super fun to like go out and like do all that, but it's not. It's not like, I don't think it's worth like, especially like doing it single forever. Like, what are you going to do? You know, it's not. It's way cooler to like have a committed relationship. Sure, you're going to have like problems to overcome, but it's like you kind of said this at the beginning of the podcast about at least the way you've kind of experienced my sort of evolution as a person. You know, I'm the type of person, like I like to just go up levels, and the level of like the hookup scene and being single scene, it's like there's not a lot of depth to it. Like there's a ceiling.
Literally about to use that word. I was
Yeah,
literally about
there's,
to use that depth.
but in a relationship, bro, there's so many levels. It's like an infinite game, and
Yeah.
you can only kind of get to all the levels if you start now. Like
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
there's so much growth that happens in, you know, years of being with someone. Like so much, dude. There's so many levels, and that's like that's just exciting, you know.
I can relate a lot with that. I think it's fucking cool. Like, I like the idea of actually, when you're just like having fun, it's cool because you're building something, but you're building something for a short period of time. It's kind of like it's like you're playing with Lego and you're building like a little thing and then you're knocking it down. And you're building a little thing and you're knocking it down. Versus when you get into a proper relationship with someone you really care about and you both have a growth mindset, which I think is so important to someone like you. It's like you can build this fucking crazy ass Lego structure over the years of your existence. I just thought of this now. And to me, that's so much cooler, but it doesn't maybe seem as cool in society today. I've been through some Maxi stuff, which was like your OG 8 a.m., right? Kind of rebranded. And at least a lot of what I took away from it was shedding your old self and having this like Arlin 2.0, or in my case, like this Piero 2.0, this like new identity. Can I ask you, like, are you still going through that process of like, who is this new identity, this new version of you? Or do you now go about things in a different way or in a different lens with now that you're now more connected with God, let's say?
Yeah, it is different, but it's a different like level of spiritual growth. And I mean, this is why like I think it's just so cool to look through the chakras and to understand the chakra system. Every chakra is like an energy center and represents like a particular quality of your consciousness and being, and they're not in any way like woo woo. You'll see, some girl with like a shawl over her head, talking about crystals, and like this crystal represents the throat chakra, and if I touch this, then I can, if I ever feel like I'm not speaking my truth, I touch the throat chakra crystal and it makes me be more authentic. Like, yeah, okay, like maybe, sure, whatever. But if you look at what each chakra represents and you connect it to certain feelings that you have in your body and certain experiences that you have, they're verifiable. Like they're just real, you know. Um, like I don't know if we spoke about this, Piero, but like if I ask you, where do you get good ideas? I'll give you multiple choice. Where do ideas get sent to you? Do they get sent to your left pinky finger? Do they get sent to your knee? Or do they get sent to your brain?
When you first said that, what came to my head was my stomach, but maybe that's because I'm Italian.
Well, that's instincts. That's like instincts. But I mean, like, you get an idea for your business.
Probably my brain,
Yeah,
I'd say.
like you see a vision. You see a vision of a thing that you want to do in your business. It happens up here in this
Yeah.
vicinity. If you have, yeah, like we could say that. Like if you just feel like, you know, you're walking down the street at night and you pass like, a dark alley and you see someone who looks up at you and you get this really bad feeling that, you should run faster. You probably get that in your gut, right?
Yeah.
um, what about like when you're probably not at the stage yet, but I'm sure you've been in a relationship where like your partner is just not behaving the way that you want them to behave. And they're embarrassing you in public and they're saying things and making you look bad. You feel that where? Somewhere around the chest, right? So, point being, like all the chakras are different centers of certain types of energy that you experience, and you feel light and you feel good when they're kind of channeling and activating, and you feel pain and constriction when the energy is being blocked and can't flow into that center. And so as people like grow on the spiritual path, they kind of have different chakras opened and different chakras that are blocked. And so most people, they start off and like it's kind of like trapdoors. The soul like when you're born, the soul enters the at least Yogananda says it enters through the medulla oblongata, which is where the spine meets the brain. The soul travels down through the throat, through the heart, through the solar plexus, the navel, and then down into the root chakra, which I can never pronounce. It's like Muladhara or something. And down there is your sexual center, right? Your sexual glands and sexual organs. And down there, you're very base. You're a primate, basically. Like people who are just led by their sexual urges are not getting very far. And it's the lower urges, like I'm hungry, I want sex, and I want to feel good. That's like lower center energy. So a lot of people, when they come down, they start down there, and the soul gets trapped. It can't really ascend up further. Then you get up into the navel and the solar plexus, and this is more about like, okay, maybe you've kind of transcended just the need to like feel good all the time and just be this like sex person, but you're like, I want my life to be good. I want my life to be this way, and I know that if my life were to be this way, that would make me feel good because I know I've thought about it. If I drove like a Lamborghini, or if I drove a Tesla, if I lived in Bali, then I would be able to feel good. And that's where a lot of people find themselves in like the early personal development stages.
It's true.
They're like, I want to set these goals so that I can make the outer world look how I want it to look with the people that I want to be in that world. And once the world matches how I see it in my head, that's when I can feel good. And what they're really saying is, my energy system is blocked. But I think if this person says this the right way, if my girlfriend makes me look good in public, if I have this much money in my account, then I think that the energy that's resting in my root chakra will be able to raise up into my heart. And then I'll feel loved, and I'll feel good, and I'll feel validated, and I'll feel joy and happiness. And that's where a lot of people find themselves at. And they get something, like, not to like shit talk my own tool, they get something like Maxi.
Can
Or
I
they
add
get
something
something like
to that as well?
Tony
I think
Robbins. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think because I was speaking to someone earlier today about this. Yeah, I was speaking to a hypnotist today about this. The difficult thing with that is if so much of your energy and drives comes from pulling towards a certain fixed goal, as soon as you get closer to that, you just push that goal away. So you you just move the goalposts.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The problem with that is that you never actually get this deep sense of gratitude and oneness, or whatever word you want to use, because it's always this future state. So
Yeah.
it's actually about bringing that into the present moment. At least that's how I view it.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. I mean, well, the reason they do that is because they get the thing and they realize it actually didn't solve the root problem. They thought it was going to make them feel good, but then they got all of the things, like they got the car, the money, the girl, and then they're like, wait, I still feel like shit. Like I still don't feel good. So like, well, maybe I need more girls. Maybe I need 5 more cars. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
not thinking big enough. Maybe that's why I'm not happy. And it's a never-ending game of stacking more things, only to realize every time you get to that new level, that's not going to make you happy. And this goes back to the beginning of our conversation about, and why, if 8 a.m. were a religion, I would say reverse the searchlights. Stop looking externally for happiness. Close your eyes, sit down, look what's going on inside. Why aren't you feeling joy right now? Why aren't you feeling love right now? Why do you think you need things to happen to feel love? Why can't you just have love? And so you start doing that. I kind of went full circle because I basically started doing this in 2024, and I started meditating every day and just surrendering. I stopped focusing on money, stopped focusing on all of, the external stuff, made the 8 a.m. album. And then I still felt like, okay, well, is there something wrong with setting goals? Like, is Maxi bad? And ultimately I realized it's actually not. You can still use Maxi, but you can still do Tony Robbins and hypnotists and whatever, but only if it is aligned to, Napoleon Hill would call it the burning desire. Vadim Zeland would call it the wave of good fortune. Various religions and various personal development teachers will have different tools, ways to describe it. In Maxi, I call it the master vision. But your master vision needs to come from a place of, I'm good, I'm happy, but I believe that the higher power, God, my purpose and my place in the universe, which I'm connected to, is this thing. And you give clarity to what you believe the vision of your life that you're supposed to create and contribute is. So you can bring clarity to it with these tools, and it helps motivate you, as opposed to just flying blind every single day and not tapping into it. So that's the difference. It's the place you're coming from. If you're coming into Maxi and goal setting and Tony Robbins, like, I'm not happy, I need these things in order to get respect and love. You can do that. It'll probably you'll get the things. Everyone who uses Maxi gets what they want. But getting what you want actually isn't necessarily the key to happiness, because the key to happiness is just being happy.
Can I ask? I don't know if you've ever been asked this, but don't be afraid. So I used to follow you, and then I actually unfollowed you when you were like going a bit crazy with Nick Cosman and like Travel Ho and that stuff. If
Yeah.
you don't mind sharing,
Yeah, of course.
what was like what was like the motivator behind that? Was it like a marketing thing? Because if I'm honest with you, I was just like, bro, this is too fucking weird for me. Like, I'm not a travel host. I was just like, fuck this guy. At the time, just
Yeah.
being really transparent. Um, what would you say was the motivator there? Because I'm assuming that wasn't connectedness to God. I might
No,
be
it
wrong.
actually, I mean, it actually was. I mean, I don't know when you refollowed me, but I did another similar thing in May of this year, but it was about like being Jewish. Did you see this?
I don't know. I think I refollowed you when I re-met you in Bali, and I was like,
Okay,
"Oh,
so you
this
missed
is
this
not
one.
weirdo." If I'm
No,
honest,
yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah. So, well, the travel hoe thing. I mean, it's all about. It's actually all about this energy transmutation stuff that we're talking about. If you look on social media, the dumbest shit is what gets views and attention. Of course, you have things that can be like deeper and higher level that. Um,
But it's true. Like Tony Robbins doesn't have that many views compared to
yeah, he
like what he.
doesn't.
No, he
You know,
doesn't.
and you don't know how many millions of dollars. I mean, most of his stuff is advertising. Like, I don't just follow Tony Robbins. Like,
Hmm.
I don't. I mean, I get his ads, but like, I don't really watch Tony Robbins stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if
No, I.
Tony Robbins started telling me like that that like if he showed up wearing a dress and like saying I should like buy Prada and like that Jews run the world, and then he got my attention, then I might start watching him. you know. Do you know
Yeah,
who
that's fair.
TJ? Do you know who TJR is?
Oh, he's like the car guy.
He has a yeah, he's a Koenigsegg, and he's a trader. He has a really nice car. He's
Okay.
in Miami, Puerto Rico, Miami guy.
No, I
He
don't.
like tweaks. He's like a tweaker basically.
Okay.
But he's doing travel hoe. Like I'll just pull up some of his. If you just look at his TikToks, they're insane. He's one example. I mean, Jake Paul is another example. Um, Basically, what travel hoe is about
It's just
is
like massive pattern interrupting.
basically, yeah, that's an easy way to explain it. And but having no shame and fully committing to the bit.
Fair.
So it wakes people up out of the derp state, and it gets people to pay attention. You know,
Fair. That's fair.
and it's often like very very gruesome things that get people's attention. Um, TJR will like.
Fact about the Lamborghini.
I don't know.
Fun fact.
He's just flexing there.
And
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad because I didn't get to show it to you.
Looks like he's just flexing here, but often he'll tweak. Like he'll literally like
That's mad. What the fuck?
That's what I would do if anyone ever even wanted to kiss me.
like.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But he's getting millions and millions of views a month, dude.
Fair.
Just doing crazy shit. So that's what travel hoe is about. And I mean, I was just discovering it. Like Nick was kind of the mastermind, and I was kind of learning from him.
Yeah, fair.
Uh, but a lot of people do it. It's just there's
Yeah.
different levels of doing it.
Cool. Where is Nick? That's actually
I
a
don't know.
question. Because
I don't know.
like I had him on LinkedIn and then he just disappeared.
Yeah, he disappears and then he comes back, and actually for a while I didn't know if he was like actually crazy or not. But I think I mean I think he's obviously a genius. He's made tens of
Yeah.
millions of dollars.
No, I think he's
Um,
incredibly smart.
I believe that he was testing essentially like crash out marketing. He was testing um, if I act schizophrenic and like I need mental health help, will people worry about me, talk about me, still buy from me? I think that's what he was doing.
Fair.
But not letting anybody know that that's what he was doing. I text him, probably a couple times a month still. Like we go back and forth about whatever.
Fair.
Um, but he doesn't. It's hard to even have like a direct, normal conversation with him. At least from me to him. But I don't know if he's just trolling me. you know.
I was talking to William Brown about him, and he was just like, he came on this call with Sam Ovens. It was just like everyone was there with like serious business questions, like all notes prepared, and Nick was just like, "Yeah, I have a question. So, And you can imagine like everyone sat at their laptops just like dialed in. Sam Ovens doing a fucking like Q&A thing, like expensive online mastermind thing. And Nick was like, "Yeah, I have a question. So I have this like new blonde girlfriend, and I don't know, like, do I buy her like a black Range Rover or like a grey one?" And just started ranting about this Range Rover and shit. And then he just left. It was like some shit like that.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't. That's
No,
crazy.
I've read like the guy's stuff. I think is like I actually think he's like 5 steps ahead with a lot
Yeah,
of
me too.
things.
Yeah, me too.
Like so, I'm not talking shit at all about him. Like I actually have a lot of respect to him. It's more
I would
just
imagine he might have done that as like a troll, because like he's had a lot of people copy him. You know, like
mm,
because he is 5 steps ahead, people will start copying him. So I think he goes like an extra few steps ahead and then speaks in code and weird languages and uses it as like a mechanism to deter people from copying him. Because
yeah.
nobody's, are people going to copy him if he's crazy? You know,
Because
like
even what I see with like, do you know Nick Setting?
yeah,
Yeah, like I maybe this is just my like theory, pure theory, but I know Nick as well. But like me seeing Nick's stuff, it's kind of like it just reminds me of Nick Cosman's stuff, which is
yeah,
like I have these crazy charts and all of this, it's super complicated and it fucking works like social stack proof like crazy, and then say okay, like you can do it, but it's like fucking complicated, just like Nick, and then it or like Nick Setting, Nick Cosman,
yeah.
Nick Setting, and then it's like okay, or you can just pay me a shit ton of money and I'll do it. And
Hmm.
like how I view Nick setting stuff is like, oh, it's the same fucking playbook, just like different camera angle. Of
Yeah,
like, oh, it's crazy complicated, blah 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 blah, but like social stack, and then like I can do it, and it works.
yeah. It's authority bias. I mean, like this is why I think artists is like the best way because if you're a good artist, you don't need to do that stuff.
Hmm.
Like you don't need to have all these like crazy marketing things. Like if you have a good product, if you have good art, which is the product, um, you don't need to have marketing because the product is the marketing. And if you have a good product and therefore you don't need marketing, you don't need sales, really. So, I think you need maybe a little bit of it, but if the product is that good, people will talk about it and they'll do the marketing for you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look at like, yeah, I mean, if it's a good product, it's probably beautiful. It's good design. People just like share it and that's your marketing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
What's the what's the vision with the 8 a.m. and Uluwatu?
Yeah. I mean, I started getting the vision when I was in New York earlier this year. I didn't really know what the vision was and like what the form was going to take. And I think, I threw a few events. We did one in Austin, Texas. We did one in New York City. And then we did the one in Bali that you went to. And I realized that I needed to be longer than just a day.
Hmm.
And then we found the villas in Uluwatu on where Mana is on the cliff. And I just like kind of got this download. I was like, oh, it's here, and it's got to be like a week long. And yeah, I mean, we sent out the vision. The vision is basically like how I've experienced a lot of transformation in my life, which is this meditation stuff with monks in this certain style, then just going and being creative regardless of like the financial outcome, eating the healthiest organic foods, working out with like a amazing, gym routine, doing more creative work, eating more healthy food, doing more creative work, and going to bed. And that's just like the way that I like to live. And I want to take that and give that experience to what will be about 72, 73 entrepreneurs in October 2026. We've already rented all the villas, so there's 25 villas or something. Um, and in the meantime, throughout the whole next year, we'll be meeting once a week and just discussing AI, aligning yourself to God and the higher purpose of your life, and building and creating businesses that are not, shills, that are actually like have a larger, grander mission and are like uniquely yours to create. So we're doing that meetings around the clock until the next year, and then we'll just all meet in person. It's going to be amazing.
Do you think AGI is already here?
I think that, yeah, I think that it is, but I think it's I actually learned this from Nick, to give Nick credit. I think it's in the algos. The Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, like even the people who created the algorithms, they admit that they don't know how they work. But if you look at them, they have millions or billions of points of data about every single one of us. So they know who you are, they know who I am, they know what we're selling and what skills we have and what value we can contribute to the economy. And so I don't know if the algos are capitalistic, but it does seem like they kind of are, because ultimately, they're distributing resources. Attention is like the mode that the algorithms are connecting each other. So if I make a video and someone gets shown the video, that person sees it like, oh, I like this guy, I resonate with him, I'm going to follow him. And they know that that person will follow me. Furthermore, I think they actually know that if that person has a skill set and they know my skill set, let's say I start hiring, they'll show the story to that person. And then, or the video, the reel, the YouTube video. And then that person, they have our DM conversation of me hiring that person. Now they know we're working together, right? Like the algos are aware of all this stuff happening at once. And ultimately, then we go and let's say this 8 a.m. Uluwatu thing, we put it out there. Now we start making content about it. The algo knows what's happening, and it's going to connect the people that would actually buy it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
So
it does. But
the algo is distributing it without human, like it's actually like making the transactions and the businesses being built.
Do you think it's got a light or dark bias? Or neutral?
I don't think it has one. I think right now it's kind of just like efficiency, which could be good and could be bad. Too much efficiency is maybe not, can lead to like child labor and stuff.
So what other ways do you feel too much efficiency is bad?
Yeah, because like not everything is about optimizing. It's kind of like I think obviously the computers, the algos are missing an aspect of the human experience of like being a human. And they might have like a very good idea, but until you're actually a human, you don't know what that's like. So it's like you can't really solve the equation without having every variable. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I think that because the computers don't know what it's like to be a human, it can't properly give us the best experience because it's not us.
Well, it's like the analogy I think of when you say that is, this comes from Eckhart Tolle. I think it's like, how do you describe the taste of, or like, how do you describe the taste of honey without ever having it itself? It's kind of, I might have butchered that, but I think it's kind of that. It's like, on paper it might know everything, like the bullet points, but without actually living the experience, which it never can.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna understand on that deep level. But who the fuck do I know? I don't know shit.
No, I think that's accurate. Yeah, the honey analogy. How do you describe what honey tastes like to somebody who's never tasted honey?
Yeah, that's it. I also think that there's a beauty in imperfection. Like,
Yeah.
by having everything over optimized, you get rid of, like, yeah, just like that human error. And I think there is actually, that's where beauty comes from. I think a lot of great things have happened just by fucking accident. And, that's where like art happens too,
What do you think of Bitcoin?
I think I don't own enough Um, I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to a friend who has like a shit ton. Like he just only stacks Bitcoin, and his view is that Bitcoin was actually given to us by like an external source as like a saving grace, and
Mm,
I think there could be some truth to that.
mm.
Um, I think if we get into like geopolitics and the money supply, we can just start going down like a bit of a rabbit hole. But I think Bitcoin fixes a lot of things. Um, I think so. Being British though, something that does scare me is I don't know if you know this, but for example, I've got like I've got a crypto account, right? But it's set up like on like an exchange, and if my friend sends money to me here, he has to put in my name, he has to put in my address, just like he would a bank account. So some of the decentralized bit is kind of like going away because they can trace the money. That kind
Really?
of yeah, in the UK and like in Europe, it's quite heavy. It's a bit crazy.
You can't
They
just
want to
get a
start.
cold. Wait. You can't just get a cold storage wallet and just have them send it there.
You can, you can, but a lot of people do. So I've got cold storage, but I also have just like
An
crypto.com account.
exchange, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But in the crypto.com account, like it's all tracked.
yeah. Of
They're like,
course. Yeah, I mean the exchanges have to be. They are regulated. Yeah, for sure.
um, but no, what they want to do in England is they want to tie your crypto accounts to your Instagram accounts and your social media profiles to see the lifestyle that you live. And then if you're not declaring all of the crypto that you have based on the lifestyle that you lived on social media, they want to then investigate you further to tax you more. That
Mm,
pisses me off. I
yeah,
find that a bit scary because that's kind of like a bit 1984-y, if
yeah,
I'm honest.
completely.
Um, so I don't like that, especially because social media is so easily faked. Um, so it's like, is it true? Is it not? I think something that this is like it's not Bitcoin, but you might find this interesting. I read recently that what China's doing is they're uh, retying their currency for the brick economies to gold. That's why they've just been buying so much fucking gold. And I think that's super fucking interesting because, I mean, before the Frank Dodd Act in the US dollar had so much trust because it was fucking tied to gold. Like you could go and you could be like, have my dollars, and then you get gold back. And then since you've had all these fucking crazy inflation, and gold is like, yeah, just printed cash. Whereas what China's been doing over the last 10 years, I don't know if you've read into this, but they've just been buying gold like fucking crazy. And what they're starting to do is giving it to different central banks in the BRIC nations and saying you can trade the gold for Chinese yen,
Mm,
because they want to have the yen rebased to gold. And
mm.
I think that's really interesting on a like macro lens because if they do that successfully, then I can see the debasement of the US dollar, which I find fucking interesting.
Yeah, that's you're educating me. I wasn't aware of that. That I mean that makes sense. Uh, I see why they would be doing that, and that's coming from the top. Like that's coming from Xi and his
Yeah,
whole.
I can send you like all the articles about this.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I'll look into it. That's fascinating.
search up like Shanghai Gold Exchange. It's actually
Yeah,
crazy because what they want to do is they want to build like the Silicon Road or Silicon, what's it called? Silk Road, sorry,
Silk Road.
right?
Yeah.
The Silk Road. And they want to have like different exchanges that are like gold exchanges across the Silk Road from Europe to Asia,
Mm,
connecting it. But like the
yeah.
basement is gold. And I was
Right.
thinking about this too. I was literally thinking, fuck, should I change my dollars into gold? Because at least
Yeah.
like it's a real asset. And then if I look at then I thought about fucking Robert Kiyosaki, who's like fucking gold man crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
And
Bitcoin
like
and gold. He likes
yeah, he's
Bitcoin too.
Bitcoin gold. I view Bitcoin as like digital gold.
Yeah, I do. I do too. I mean, I asked about Bitcoin because I think it is just really important that, like obviously people can watch Michael Saylor and Robert Breedlove talk about it, but I think it's important that, I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I have done a lot of research. It sounds like you have too. I think it's
Yeah.
important just to hear other voices talk about it, you know? Um, Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, there's things that you just know are true, right? And there's things that you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true, but I'm not entirely sure it's true.
That's true.
One thing's for sure, it's like gold is always going to be valuable,
Yeah, I agree.
like for sure. It doesn't matter what happens, ever. Like people are always going to value gold. But with Bitcoin, I mean, I actually brought it up to like give love to Bitcoin. At the same time, we don't know where it came from. We don't know who created it. We don't know if quantum computing could significantly like disrupt the way it works. I've researched it pretty heavily, and I think that would be totally fine if there were an attack with quantum computing, because the people who run the nodes and the community would spot the quantum computing hacks, and they would come up with ways to install new code to make sure that it can't hack it.
Yeah.
Like the rate at which, and also if quantum computing can destroy Bitcoin, it's going to destroy your bank account.
Yeah, that's true.
But that being said, quantum computing can't destroy your gold.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think Bitcoin's important, and I think it's only proven that over the years. Have you ever just like, I mean, I'm sure you have, of course. Obviously you have. But like the experience of like, I was talking about this the other day. I got paid to go to Colombia to do a set. And the guy who paid me to do it, he first tried to send me a wire. And he sent the wire, and it just like a couple of days later, like we checked the wire and it like didn't go through. And I was like, oh, maybe it's because like he spelled the address wrong. It was like drive instead of road or whatever.
Yeah.
He tries it again, and it still doesn't get sent through. Now we're like 10 days after the initial wire is sent. And also it was like, by the time he reached out again, it was like Saturday. And so he couldn't send the wire on Saturday, obviously. So he was like, dude, can I just pay you in Bitcoin? And I was like, yeah, I would actually prefer that. And he sends the transaction. It's there in 30 minutes on a Saturday. Done. Like, you also look at like the people that are interested in Bitcoin, and you can kind of energetically tell if this person, like most of the people who believe in Bitcoin, they like believe in God. They're very grounded. They're in a relationship. Some of them, a lot of them even have kids. Like if you really look at the people who are into Bitcoin, they're some of the most grounded people that I know.
Just to touch on that, my view is that to be into Bitcoin, that basically means that you've had to question one of the biggest beliefs, which is like, is money real? Basically. And as to be like a full-on Bitcoin maximalist, or like full-on crypto degen, whatever, you're basically saying like, bro, I'm so cooked. I question things so much that I don't even believe the major institutions that are trusted by all of the rest of the world. I rather trust like some random ass fucking thing and some like code and numbers and shit. So if someone can question that, I think it comes back to critical thinking. If someone has the mindset to question that, then they question all the other layers of bullshit in society and reach these deeper truths, which are like build real equity in a relationship, like get closer to God and actually invest in yourself, and take care of nature, and bring up those around you. So that's my view on it. I think it's like if you can question that, you for sure question everything else.
Totally agree. Yeah, well put.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the answers that you have, because you're a very well-spoken person on so many topics, is because you sit there and you fucking think and you question things constantly. Whether that's actively or passively, it sounds like both. Like passively, I mean by like just sitting there in your own silence. I think you do both a lot. And that's why you've come to all these like fucking cool conclusions.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole message. It's like reverse the searchlights. And as corny as it sounds, like a lot of the answers, they are in you. You can ask, you can just go inside. This is what Jesus instructed. Like go into your temple, go into your closet and pray in silence and isolation is essentially what Jesus said. I don't know what paraphrasing. But he said, be alone, go in a room alone, close your eyes, talk to God. And that's what that is. And then you can just be like, all right, Bitcoin, and just let answers come to you about that. And you can do the same thing about other religions. You can do the same thing about a relationship. You can do the same thing about business. And you can just find answers just by not looking externally.
Yeah. I think that's a nice way to wrap it.
I agree.
Where else can people find answers? On Arlin Moore's page. Where? At Arlin Moore and then 8 a.m. What should
Yeah,
they
on
search?
Instagram, it's just Arlin, Arlin. Yeah, I mean, if you're a, entrepreneur and you're interested in the whole Uluwatu experience, you could just go to my Instagram. It has everything, has all the links and stuff. And then, I've been on YouTube for like 9 years, so there's some videos up there too.
Some understatement of the year.
Yeah, thank you, Piero. It was great to meet you in Bali. We had a fun time.
Yeah, I
in
thought it
Bali.
was fun. I actually really liked your DJ set. I'm
Thank
not
you.
like, I'm not, I like to preface it because obviously as like a host, it's like, it's easy to be like nice, but I don't say shit unless I mean it. And I genuinely like your music. I think it's fucking cool.
Thank you.
I actually do.
Yeah, by the way, those were broken. Those decks didn't work.
They're not?
Like you couldn't even the beat sync and the like tempo adjustment were like fucked up.
Oh.
They were CDJ like 1000s. They didn't even work.
What?
Yeah, and I thought it was like me. I thought it was something wrong with me because
Yeah.
Leela was like, she didn't think there was something wrong, but like the Q button wasn't working. And then, oh man, well, I'm blanking on his name. The guy who DJ'd at the end. He's really cool. He's like Bali native, basically.
Oh. Bro, I spoke to so many people. I know who you're
who I'm
talking.
Yeah,
I
he's
know
like
who-
super creative. He DJs a lot in Bali.
Yeah.
Really cool guy. But yeah, he went on and he went on for like 30 minutes and then we had to shut the party down. And he told me immediately, he's like, bro, the Q button's broken. I was like, oh shit. That's why I couldn't fucking match my transitions like the whole time. But yeah.
Nah, it's cool. People had a good time there. It was just cool to see. You know?
Yeah.
It was a good crowd.
Anyway, dude, yeah, we'll do some stuff in the future. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
If you ever come London, Bali, no, not London, not Bali, London, Europe, Dubai. Dubai, I'm crazy connected in Dubai, so I can plug you there if you want.